Welcome back, everybody. What a great week one game we just had. We are here for our news episode following our week one game, leading into our week two game, and we have so much to talk about. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into what happened in last week's game. So obviously we're taking a look at the scoreboard here, and we had a close game. 20-17 was the final score. We were very lucky to come out with the W at the end of the day, and let's talk about how we got there. So obviously with a score like that, you guys can probably expect we had a very, very close, even game. Offensive yards were pretty much even with a slight edge to them. But we can talk about how we did a phenomenal job in our game plan, our planning. We decided, for one, we were going to pound the ball, try to get some great rushing yards, as we know with this team, with a quarterback who may not be able to make all the throws, that one of the key things for us will be to get the ball rolling with Dameon Pierce and Marlon Mack. And that's exactly what we did, getting almost 100 yards on the day in the rushing game. And the other part of our game plan, recognizing that they have Jonathan Taylor out for the game, we got his backup running back, Nyheim Hines, in the game, and our job was to shut him down. We know this run game is lethal for them, and without Jonathan Taylor, we were hoping to limit them, and we did that with only allowing about half of what we did at 57 yards. What we did not expect, however, was how good our offensive passing game was. We knew they had Matt Ryan on their side of the ball with some great developing weapons on their side, but for Davis Mills and our receiving corps to put up 252 passing yards was quite incredible, honestly. Another key thing to talk about, we were able to survive turning the ball over 3 times on the day, and they didn't turn it over at all. So obviously we're hoping to see better production out of our defense to get more takeaways, and we're hoping to get this offense a little more sealed up so we don't make those key crucial errors, because we kind of got away with it this time out. We doubled their third down conversion rate, and we got another fourth down conversion with our fullback, Andy Janovich. That's proving to be very, very effective for us, and we're hoping to use that for the rest of the year. And at the very end of it all, our time of possession was nearly identical. Like I said, a very close game, but now let's get into the player-specific stats. So for our QB comparison, honestly, I was thinking it was going to be a much greater discrepancy between the two, but it was pretty good nonetheless. We had Matt Ryan pass for 314, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a long pass of 55. His longest pass of the day was 55 yards, a complete breakdown in coverage. We can't have something like that in that specific play. He did take 2 sacks on the day, and yeah, it was a great game for him, but also a much better game for our quarterback, Davis Mills. He had 252 passing yards on the day, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. One of them was simply him just getting too greedy on that RPO call, and he paid for it. He did have an 86-yard bomb, and when I say bomb, I don't mean it traveled in the air that far. He made a good pass, and he had a receiver make a play on it, and we will get to talking about that later on in this game. But a great game for him nonetheless, to be able to put up those kind of yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. Pretty impressive, which we did not expect out of him. In the rushing game, obviously, we had Dameon Pierce, 18 carries for 54 yards, only 3 yards a carry, but it was a productive day nonetheless. He broke 3 tackles on the day, and his longest run was for 12 yards. On their side of the ball, Nyheim Hines, he had 17 carries for 50 yards, just under 3 yards a carry, so we did a good job to limit him. And then our backup running back, Marlon Mack, 6 for 25, 4.2 a carry. He did have that 1 fumble, but he showed some great resilience and bouncing back after that fumble. Also on our side, Andy Janovich is somebody we need to talk about. He is our fullback. We understand you're not using a fullback every play. We obviously understand that, but he took his one opportunity on 4th down to make an impact. I can't quite remember if it was just 1 yard or 2 yards or something like that to go, maybe even inches, but he took his play, his one rush for 10 yards. He put his head down, shoulders down, bursting through the line, didn't look up until he was already 6-7 yards downfield. It was an incredible play by him, and we have to honor that. And then in the receiving game, John Mechie III, in his first ever NFL game, came to play. That's the simplest way I can say it. He had 6 catches for 169 yards, 26.2 a catch, and 2 touchdowns. That long play by that receiver we were talking about, that was John Mechie III. His first one was a simple ball off the slant. He caught it near the end of the half. He found himself running into a pile with everybody else. He made an incredible spin move to find open space and took it all the way. Incredible work. And then not long after, we saw him run a whip route on the left side of the field with maybe 20 yards to go. He broke ankles on that route, got his space, and just took his time diving for the end zone. 2 amazing touchdowns. And we were looking for an offensive weapon on this team that we might need to develop through this team. And he might be the one to do that. So it was incredible work by him on the day. Obviously, his longest reception was that 86-yard catch. For receivers on their side of the ball, they did light us up pretty bad. We are hoping to see better production out of our defensive backs in later games. They had Michael Pittman Jr., 7 for 76, 10.9 a catch. Obviously not a huge average, but still, we got to lock that down better. And then Paris Campbell, 5 for 75 for 15. Paris Campbell had a touchdown, and Kiki Kute had a 1 catch for 55 yards. That was that huge breakdown in coverage. That went for a touchdown. And we're not going to talk about that because that was just awful, but we have to avoid that. Nyheim Hines also had 6 for 51 in the air, 8.5 catch. Mo Alley Cox also got involved very much for them, 751, 7.9. We also didn't find that many opportunities to hit Brandin Cooks. He was 2 for 25, 12.5. I will say the catches that he did make, key crucial catches that we needed, he stepped up big. Nico Collins as well, 2 for 25. Brevin Jordan, 2 for 20. But yeah, it was great. Sacks on the day that were led up by our O-line. Quentin Nelson for them led up 1, and Dennis Kelly led up 1. No sacks led up by our offensive line. We love to see that. That is amazing by us, and we're hoping to see more of that in the future. But now it's time. Let's talk about defense. Leading the day on tackles, Eric Murray starting at strong safety. He had 13 on the day, backed up by Christian Kirksey with 12, and CJ Gardner-Johnson playing kind of a flexed out position where he's in at sub linebacker, sometimes at corner, sometimes rushing the passer, kind of doing a little bit of everything. And he was all over the field as well, doing that very well. Most solo tackles on the day with 4, so we love to see that. Tackles for loss, we were led in the day by Desmond King II. He was playing the slot for a lot of the day, so he made some great adjustments to get off the slot when he realized it was a run play, making tackles for loss. He had 3 on the day. Shaq Leonard on their side had 2. Quiddy Pay had 2, and then, just a lot of people with 1. For sacks on the day, obviously, we know they didn't get any sacks on us, but who got the sacks against them? We can say that was Jerry Hughes Jr. returning from an injury, making an incredible play when we need it, and Ross Blacklock. Both of them stepped up big with those sacks. We needed them today in such a close game. Our 2 interceptions, though. Stephon Gilmore with 1. We tested him, a one-on-one deep shot. He made us pay, and that was an incredible interception. And then Rodney McLeod. He may not have made an incredible play, but he did make a good play nonetheless. Davis Mills got greedy. He made him pay for it. Took it all the way. He didn't take it all the way back, but that interception was crucial for them, and we're lucky that we were able to survive past that mistake. Pass deflections, we had 1 for Desmond King, Jonathan Grenard, Julian Blackman, Jalen Petre, and Isaiah Rogers. For fumbles on the day, obviously we had to have another turnover. It was the fumble. Bobby Okereke had the forced fumble on the day, and the recovery was made by Rodney McLeod as well. So he got 1 interception. He also recovered 1 fumble. So he was all over for them, making an impact. Before we go any further on about what we need to talk about for next week, we need to talk about what we decided to do with our scouts. So obviously we went over this last week, and I think the best part about this is that as a new owner, I get to be honest with you guys, and I made some mistakes initially with our scouting department. And as it's my first time, I took some time, met with some people who have already done this in the past, professionals we have on the team, and we made some adjustments. So obviously we restructured it, and I'm going to run you through it real fast because I know we already spoke about this and there's not much new news besides our restructuring. So we have Jack Morales, our tier 3 scout. His expertise is in quarterback and tight end. We have him nationally. We need him to find the best players at the quarterback position. If he can find something at the tight end department, we will take that as well. But our key focus is quarterback. We need him to find the best prospect in this draft. In the West region, we have our 1-star tier, Zach Strickland. His expertise in defensive and offensive tackle. We know offensive tackle is a strength of this region. We're hoping he can find some success there. In the Central region, we have Greg Griffin, another tier 1 scout. His expertise is in the linebacker positions, middle and outside. And we know right outside linebacker is a strength, so we're hoping he can find something there. In the Northeast, Kent Sherman, another 1-star tier. With his expertise as being in tight end wide receiver. Again, tight end's a strength of this region, so we're hoping he can find something here. And obviously, the Southeast is what's left. Emma Mullins, our 2-star tier scout. Her expertises are in defensive tackle and interior offensive line. This is a double-edged sword here. So we understand that a strength of this area is defensive tackle. So hopefully she can find the best of the best in this area. And we know a weakness of this area is interior offensive line. So although it is a weakness, she may be able to find a diamond in the rough of sorts to be able to find us some success in the future. So as we're looking ahead to this new week, we have more trade offers coming in. So let's take a moment and let's see what we got going on with that. So we only have one trade offer this week, and it's an interesting one, honestly. So the New York Giants are offering us Sterling Shepard, a wide receiver, Blake Martinez, a middle linebacker, and a 2024 6th-round pick. While this is an interesting offer, it's not exactly the type of package we're looking for. We know Brandin Cooks is a star. We know he's in his prime, and we know a team making a push for a Super Bowl possibly will be looking for a player like him, and we need more out of a deal if we're going to make it. So unfortunately for the New York Giants, we're going to have to decline this offer, and we'll look on to next week, see if anything pops up then. But for now, trading Brandin Cooks is not what we're looking for in this week. On the contract side of things, we started our process last week. CJ Gardner-Johnson, his contract's up at the end of the year. We made a big deal to get him in the preseason, and we have a lot of hope for him. We know he's young. We know he's a star, possibly could be more. And we need to make the steps now to bring him in long term. So let's see what negotiations happen here. So this week, we're going to be making a different offer. Obviously, he's 24. He's up for a contract, and he knows that he is a star. He knows he has value, and we also understand that. So we're going to try and give him a long-term deal. A 7-year deal would lock him up until he was about 31. Hopefully we can lock him in for $7 million a year. Try to keep that number low, but obviously, if we see enough this year, if he hasn't accepted anything yet, I have no problem paying him big money if he's going to be a big money player for us. So we're going to submit this offer and see what he says. The offer's perfect. That's amazing. So we have CJ Gardner-Johnson signed for the next 7 seasons at $7 million. It's a little bit above average, but it's much, much further under what a lot of top tier safeties are getting. So we are very happy with that. Obviously, we'll have more negotiations to go. We'll make those decisions as we go, but that's a huge signing for us. CJ Gardner-Johnson on the team for the next 7 years. He's going to be a key part of this team for the future and hopefully be a key part of our successful future. Let's take a chance to look at what's going on around the league and see what kind of results we had. So some of the main things we want to talk about, we want to look at what happens in our division every week. And we saw the Jaguars narrowly squeak a win out against the Commanders in their stadium 31-28, and it looks like that was a result of a great game by Trevor Lawrence. In his second year, he threw for 314, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. It's actually kind of scary to see. Him and Carson Wentz had nearly identical days. Same amount of yardage, same touchdowns, same interceptions, same amount of sacks they took. So a very even game, but it looks like Trevor Lawrence got the upper hand on this one. Looks like the Tennessee Titans did take a loss in week 1 to the New York Giants, who were trying to make a move on Brandin Cooks from us. And it looks like Ryan Tannehill, he had a solid, a solid day. 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. But let's see where they went wrong. It looks like they could not stop Saquon Barkley. Obviously, we know Derrick Henry's a monster for them. He had 132 yards in the day. But it was nothing compared to Saquon Barkley's 139 with 2 touchdowns. And it looks like they just had more juice in the running game. They just beat him up and they made him pay for it. And probably most important for us, the Broncos are coming off a huge loss on Monday Night Football last week against the Seattle Seahawks. 17-13, a big division rivalry for them. And what happened here? Russell Wilson threw for 300 yards and a touchdown. It looks like it was just one of those games where it could have gone either way. So our main goal from that point has to be we cannot let them try to use us as a bounce back game this week. Obviously, since we just had a home game, we can reevaluate our game day financials and see if we can make any improvements in our final season here in Houston. So Houston Heroes said tickets are cheaper than usual in the club section. Love to hear it. Texans Two Step said I can live with the prices they are charging for Mazzane tickets. Love that. And another one from Texas Two Step. Texans got a great deal on upper tickets the last home game. So our ticket department seems to be going great. If they appreciate it, we won't do anything to ruin it. Too bad Texans said the Texans would sell way more Deshaun Jackson Nike jerseys if they brought the price down. Honestly, I can understand that, and we'll make that change for you, because Deshaun Jackson, although he's a legend in our game, he's been a speedster for Philly and some other teams, he's not what he was. So we're going to bring that down a little bit. Texas 2 Steps said, why are prices so high on Texans gear? Make it easier to support the team. I get that. I understand that some things have to be high, but we'll see if we can bring it down a little bit. And Texas Win said, I'd like to be able to buy my daughter a Kyle Rudolph Nike jersey, but at these prices, it won't be easy. And you know what? I understand that. We'll bring it down a little bit for you. So those are the changes we're going to make for merchandise this week. So some pretty good progress nonetheless. And then for merchandise, Dre Time said, I'd like to see the Texans keep the price of popcorn right where it is for a few more years. All right, we can take that. Texans 2 Steps, surprised at the price of hamburger at the stadium. Pretty steep if you ask me. Let's take a look and see what it is. $6 for a hamburger? Listen, I understand game day food's expensive, but it doesn't need to be that expensive. We'll bump it down another $5 for you. And then Texans for Life said prices for coffee seem to be reasonable compared to some other stadiums. All right, so we're making some great progress there. Let's move along to our next order of business. So it's that time. Let's take a look at the injury report and see what's going on there. From our end, the only injured player that we have for the day is Obo Okoronkwo. He has a dislocated elbow, which should be healed in a week, but he will be on IR, like we said, for the rest of the year. Meaning we have him solely on our team. We won't lose him to another team. And with the contract year coming up, hopefully being out for a year, we can get him at a discount, hopefully. But don't tell him I said that. But besides that, before we look at our team, there was a couple injuries on the Colts side. Let's see if there was any after effects. And yes, we saw Yannick Ngakoue get sidelined from the game, and it turns out he has a broken finger. That's going to keep him out for 2 more games, unfortunately, but it's nice to see that he will be back on the field for them. But now it's time to look at this week, as we will be facing the Denver Broncos, and that is a big injury. Their starting left guard, Dalton Reisner, he's out with a PCL sprain, which he will be back after this week's game. But that may be key for us. We have to send the pressure on that side of the line if we're going to be pressuring and use that injury against them. But let's look at who we do have to deal with this week. So obviously at quarterback, they just made a huge deal and brought in the longtime Seahawk, Russell Wilson. He's going to be hoping to bring a new sort of passing game to this team. And let's see what he can produce out of our game here. At the running back position, he has Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Solid running backs, nothing spectacular, but anything else we have to worry about at wide receiver, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, who is a speed demon along with Courtland Sutton, and even KJ Hamler, their 4th string wide receivers. So we're going to have to look out for their speed, but honestly, nothing super special at their receiving game. Obviously, they put up their tight end in the deal for Russell Wilson. They have Albert Okwegunbuna. I'm not going to try that. I'll learn it if I have to. If he makes me have to worry about him, but nothing too crazy there. Not worried about that. In the left tackle, they have Garrett Bowles replacing their left guard. They're going to stick in Natane Muti, who's solid 2 years. He's had 2 years in the league already, and he's probably going to fill in pretty nice for them. Lloyd at right guard, Graham Glasgow, and at right tackle, surprisingly, they're going to go with the 3rd-year player, Isaiah Wilson. I'm going to be honest, this offensive line isn't that impressive, and it might be beneficial for us to send some heat on the D-line. But we'll evaluate that when we get to the game plan. On their defensive side of the ball, Draymond Jones at the left end. They have Takaris McKinley at the right end. And at the D-tackle, they have DJ Jones and Mike Purcell. Honestly, they're not winning very much either on their offensive line or defensive line. So maybe we can take advantage of that. At the left outside linebacker position, they got Bradley Chubb, solid. Middle linebacker, they got Jamie Collins, backed up by Josie Jewell, solid. Randy Gregory, solid as well. So their linebacking core isn't awful. They have Patrick Surtain at the starting corner position. He's backed up by Ronald Darby and K'Wan Williams. So that's nice to see. Justin Simmons, a star safety for them at free safety. And at strong safety, they're going to be playing Kareem Jackson. And their kicker, obviously, Brandon McManus, punter, Sam Martin. So after doing a lot of thinking, obviously the receivers aren't that great for the defense. So after doing a lot of thinking, we're here to set our game plans. And we're going to start with our defensive game plan. So obviously, we talked about it. Their receiving core isn't special. Not super special. their run game isn't something we should really worry about, especially with that O-line. I think what we need to do, we have to be wary of Russell Wilson's arm talent. And I think if we defend the deep pass, we don't have to worry about run support too much with their running backs. And I think if we are able to cover the pass better, I think we defend the deep pass is going to be our go-to decision today. And I feel like that should give us a pretty good lock on this Broncos offense. And I think obviously we don't have that many weapons on offense. And obviously their linebackers are solid but not great, but their D-line is just not impressive. I think we attack it. I think we go run inside. We try to get Dameon Pierce going. And let's see how that works out for us. I think that's the move we're going to go with. And after setting our game plans, we now have our goals set up by our coaching staff for this week. So head coach Lovie Smith has said he wants to try and allow under 200 yards. And honestly, seems like a pretty good idea. If we're able to do that, we can shut down this offense. We don't have to worry about their defense too much, as long as we can avoid Justin Simmons for that matter. But if we can hold them under 200 yards, we should have a very good chance of winning this game. Our offensive coordinator, he's decided, let's try and get 300 offensive yards. We didn't hit that mark last week, and this D-line, this linebacking core, it gives us an opportunity. So hopefully we can pound the run game, opens up the play-action game, the pass game. Hopefully that works out for us there. Our defensive coordinator, he wants to try and allow 20 points or less. We only let up 17 last week, and we understand the weapons that they have in Denver just aren't something we should be scared of. We should try to challenge them, so that's going to be our goal, 20 points or less this week. And my game plan, I want to see us get an interception. After seeing last week us giving up 3 turnovers, not being able to get one, we know we have to step up against Russell Wilson. He's a smart passer. He has great arm talent. We have to try and take advantage of these receivers. We have to try and make plays, get us back in the game, because we understand, I got lost for words, no matter what kind of ensemble of people he has around him, Russell Wilson is a talent in this league. We know he can make it happen if we don't bring the pressure and we don't make plays. So my goal for this team is going to be get 1 interception this week. We did have some unfortunate news. We just finished up training for the week, and Kyle Rudolph came up with an injury during practice. He got turf toe, so it looks like he's probably going to be out this week against the Broncos. It sucks, but maybe this is a great time for Brevin Jordan to step up, because he did great last game, but Kyle Rudolph came in. He made some plays for us as well. So hopefully we can see Brevin Jordan step up, show he's ready to be that guy. But although we had that negative, we have a positive to talk about. Our wide receiver, Davion Davis, he may be a little bit lower on the depth chart, but it looks like he made some improvements this week in practice. And when I say he made improvements, more specifically, I mean we saw improvements in his catch and traffic ability, his medium route running, and his short route running. So maybe this will be more effective to get him on the field. So with all that, I think we have seen everything we need to see. We are ready. Week 2 of our 2022 NFL season. The Houston Texans are going to be heading into Denver, 4:25 game on Sunday. America's game of the week against the Broncos in Denver, and hopefully we're able to keep this momentum going, get a second win on the week, and I'm just so excited about it. If you guys are excited for it as well, remember to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notifications, and I'll catch you guys next time for week 2 of our NFL season.